If you're coming to Vietnam, you're probably gonna want a motorbike to get around. So in this video, we'll talk about the different types of motorbikes, the cheapest way to rent or buy, how to drive legally, and a couple of tips on how to drive safely. The first thing I'll say is that driving a motorbike in Vietnam is very dangerous. Vietnam has the most motorbikes of any country in the world. Traffic is chaos. You really gotta know what you're doing. If you're a complete beginner, driving in Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh City is probably out of the question. But here in Da Nang, it's a little bit more relaxed and doable. In case you don't want to drive, it's totally fine to get Grab motorbike taxis. It's cheap and easy to get anywhere you need to go. Riding a bike is not necessary for everyone, but if you want to give it a try, let's get into it. The first thing you need to think about is what type of bike to get. Now there's tons of options, but they're all gonna fall into one of three categories. So we'll look at that now. So we've got three different bikes here I'm gonna show you, talk about the differences, the pros and cons of each. You've got automatic, semi-automatic, and manual. So this bike here, this is my girlfriend Luan's bike. This is automatic bike. So no foot pedals, anything like that. All you gotta do is twist the throttle and you're gonna go. These bikes are decent for getting around town. They're always gonna have a little bit better storage, so you can always pull the seat open. You can put some stuff inside the seat. So good for grocery store runs, things like that. This is the bike you want if you've never ridden a bike before. Super easy to use. You can get the hang of it in 10 minutes. The cons are that you can't take this bike into the mountains. It doesn't have enough power. Can't do the Hazang loop or something like that. No 5-day motorbikes in the mountains. Automatic bike is for getting around town. So couple tips on these bikes. Usually there's an automatic kill switch with the kickstand. So if the kickstand is down and you're trying to start the bike, nothing's gonna happen. And you're gonna be like, oh no, my bike's broken. But it's just because you left the kickstand down. So bring that up, start the bike, no problem. There's another thing that silly foreigners do all the time is when they're parking the bike, they'll leave it running and then they'll get off the bike. Every time you park, you wanna make sure you put the kickstand down, turn the key off so the bike is off. I see people all the time, when they're parking, they'll leave the bike running. And what's happening is you're pushing your bike into here and you just accidentally twist the throttle a little bit. Once you twist it, it's gonna take off and then that's gonna make you twist it more and then the bike goes flying off into the river and you feel like a dumbass. Don't be a dumbass. So the second type of bike you have is a semi-automatic. So this is a Yamaha PT1. My friends H and Sarah just brought this bike. Great bike. If I was buying a bike today, it would probably be this one. Semi-automatics is gonna be the best for most people. So the only difference is you've got a foot pedal down here. So you've got 4 gears, you can shift up and back. So all the gears mean lower gear is slower and for hills, 3rd and 4th is for when you're cruising. So you're driving and you want to go a little faster, you just click forward to go up a gear, click back to go down a gear. So this will take you a half hour, an hour messing around with it. You can drive any road in Vietnam on a semi-automatic bike. So you're cruising, you want to go faster a little bit, you just click up one. You want to go down a gear, just back. H and them have had the bike for couple days now. They drove here today, so they've obviously got it figured out. On most bikes, you're gonna have 2 brakes. Front brake is your hand lever here. Rear brake is your foot pedal here. You don't wanna be driving fast and then slam on the front brakes. That's gonna make you stop real short and flip over the handlebars. So you always wanna use your foot brake for the rear tire most of the time, and then only use them both together when you need to stop quickly. So cons of most semi-automatic and manual bikes is there's not much storage. So you're gonna lift the seat to get to the gas tank, so there's no storage on the inside. You can always get saddlebags and givey boxes to put on the back if you wanted to do like a road trip like that, but overall, not too much storage. Okay, last bike is a fully manual. This is my bike, it's a Honda Winter 150. So with a manual, you've got a clutch lever, and you've got shifting up and down. So every time you need to shift, you've got to hold in the clutch lever, shift, let it go. You've also got your front brake and rear brake with your foot. So all 4 of your hands and feet are kind of doing something. So this is not for beginners. Manual is not an option if you've never ridden a bike before. Most people are going to be fine with a semi-automatic. The only reason you would want a manual is if you've ridden bikes before and you just like using a clutch. It's gonna be a little bit better in steep mountains and things like that, but you don't really need a manual bike. So same thing with this bike, there's no storage. You just got your gas tank under here, so there's nowhere to put things. So you'd have to get some extra bags or a box on the back if you wanted to travel with something. So this is one of the most popular bikes in Vietnam. All three of these bikes are some of the most common options, but there's a couple alternatives. If you're a really tall foreigner and you want a manual bike, you might look at an XR 150. That's gonna be a lot taller of a bike, so comfortable for like a big Western man. For the semi-automatics, my first pick would be this bike. It's the Yamaha PG1. The second bike would be a Honda Blade. That's one of the best bikes you can get and really cheap. For automatics, they make a bunch of them. This is a Honda Airblade. This is probably your best choice. Talking about prices real quick. This one is actually the most expensive. Brand new from the shop is gonna be about 60 million, 2,400 bucks, something like that. The PG1 brand new is about 37, 38, so maybe $1,300, $1,400. The Honda Blade is about 1,000 bucks out the door, brand new. The Honda Winter, I bought brand new from the Honda dealership for about 45 million, 1,800 US dollars. And I've been riding this bad boy for 3 years, never had an issue with it. So pretty good value overall. Besides the three types of bikes I just mentioned, there's also electric motorbikes. These are usually 50cc, so smaller engines and less power. Not gonna be good for mountain roads or long road trips because you're gonna need to charge or change the batteries occasionally. These are a good option if you're just looking for something to get around town. The biggest reason you would choose an electric motorbike is because you don't need a license to drive one. So unless you have a long-term visa in Vietnam, it's impossible to get a Vietnamese driver's license and really difficult to drive legally. There's something called an international driving permit. For most European countries, you can convert your home driver's license into an IDP 1968 version, which will be accepted in Vietnam. Again, you have to do this in your home country before you arrive in Vietnam. There's another version of the ITP from 1949, which is not accepted in Vietnam. So for US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, we're shit out of luck. There's no way to drive legally in Vietnam. In case you're wondering, I am American, but I do have a Vietnamese driver's license from when I had a work permit a few years ago. If you're driving without a license, you're taking a big risk. If you get pulled over by the police, you're gonna pay a fine, but the bigger problem is getting into some kind of accident. So for you guys, you might want to consider the electric bikes. So when you're renting, you're looking at about $6 to $8 a day, or maybe $60 to $80 a month, depending on what type of bike you're renting. There's two places that I recommend for renting. One is for regular bikes, the other is for electric bikes. I've got a discount at both of them, so check out my travel group linked underneath the video if you want to save some money. I usually say about 3 to 6 months or less in Vietnam, you're fine renting a bike. Anything more than 6 months, you're probably better off buying. So there's another spot in town called Bamboo Bob, and they have a service where you can either rent to own or you can buy a bike outright. They take care of the whole process of paying the taxes and registering the license plate and all that. And they charge a 3% markup on top of the total price of the bike. So it's a really fair price and it's gonna save you a huge headache because technically foreigners are not allowed to buy a bike brand new. So it's a little bit complicated. When you buy a bike, you gotta put it in somebody else's name and things like that. Two of my friends have already bought PG1s brand new from them. Those are the bikes that you saw a little bit earlier. So if you are thinking about buying, Bamboo Bob is the way to go for that. All right, just a couple of quick tips to drive safely because I'm absolutely cooking out here. First things first, you gotta wear a helmet. If you're smarter than me, you'd probably get a full face helmet. It's illegal to drive without a helmet. It's probably the easiest way to get pulled over by the cops. Number two, always make sure your kickstand is up. Now when you're driving, this is gonna sound crazy if you've never ridden a motorbike before. It's not like a bicycle where if I wanna turn left, I'm gonna turn the handlebars like that. It's actually the opposite. So if I want to turn left, I'm literally just going to push to the left and the bike's going to lean and that's going to make me go to the left. If I want to turn right, I'm pushing with my right hand to go that direction. I promise you the first time you get on a bike and you're thinking about this, it's going to make sense to you. When it comes to traffic, it's not something I can really teach you. There's a flow of traffic and you just gotta feel it and get the hang of it. Everyone just kind of keeps their line and there's a flow like ants. You find your gaps and you just gotta go. To make a turn, for example, you don't need to sit and wait until there's no traffic. There's always gonna be traffic, so you have to nudge your way out there and just go, and people will go around you like ants. You wanna start slowly, you're better off on some quiet streets on the beach side. Give yourself a couple days to build up some confidence, and then you'll probably be ready for the city side. All right, I'm sweating like a whore in church. I think that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, hope it was super helpful. See you in the next one, peace.